Welcome back, everybody. These are the best horror films of 1977. Let's check out all the horror films that came out that year that scared and thrilled audiences worldwide and throughout the country. Drive-ins, movie theaters, and your local TV. Remember, back in 1977, I didn't check my notes. There was only three TV stations. You had ABC, CBS, NBC, and KPBS, if you were lucky. No cable TV, so you saw horror movies on those stations in 1977. So let's check out the best horror films that came out that year. And as you know, as we go through every year, the movies get scarier and terrifying and gorier and bloodier. So let's check out the horror films, the best horror films of 1977. Ants, an old-fashioned lakeside hotel targeted for purchase by an unsavory gambling casino promoter and situated next to a construction site, is attacked by an army of ants. This movie was scary. Between the Lines, the lives and tribulations of a staff of an independent newspaper in Boston who are struggling financially. Unbeknownst to them, they are about to be taken over by a big publisher, an idea they despise. Between the Lines. The Crater Lake Monster. A meteor that crashed into Oregon's Crater Lake unearths a dinosaur egg. Murder ensues. The Crater Lake Monster. Day of the Animals. A battle for survival ensues after a group of hikers encounters a chemically imbalanced forest. This movie was good for its time. Empire of the Ants. Empire of the Ants. Con artist Marilyn Fraser tries to sell bogus real estate deals in an area overrun by giant ants. Next up we have is Kingdom of the Spiders. See where we're going here? Animals and insects. In rural Arizona, countless killer tarantulas are migrating through a farm town, killing everyone in their path. Orca, the killer whale. A hunter squares off against a killer whale, seeking vengeance for the death of its mate. The People That Time Forgot. In 1919, British expedition in the Antarctica region is searching for a lost American explorer and finds a hidden prehistoric world instead. Roller Coaster. A nameless young terrorist threatens to sabotage roller coasters at various American amusement parks if he isn't paid a huge ransom. Roller Coaster. This movie was good and fun and scary. The Sentinel. A young woman moves into an apartment in a building which houses a sinister evil. The Sentinel. Next up we have is the classic horror film, Shockwaves. Visitors to a remote island discover that a reclusive Nazi commander has been breeding a group of zombie soldiers. Shockwaves. Snow Beast. A Colorado ski resort is besieged by a subhuman beast that commits brutal murders on the slopes. Snow Beast. Next up we have is Sorcerer. 4 unfortunate men from different parts of the globe agree to risk their lives transporting gallons of nitroglycerin across dangerous Latin American jungle. Suspiria, an American newcomer to a prestigious German ballet academy, comes to realize that the school is a front for something sinister amid a series of grisly murders. Tarantulas. The Deadly Cargo. An airplane carrying coffee beans from South America has some unpleasant stowaways. Killer tarantulas that land and kill people. Tentacles. Remember Jaws and Gator and frogs? Now we have tentacles. A mutated giant octopus wreaks havoc on a California seaside community. Tentacles. Halloween with the new Addams Family. A revival of the popular 60s TV comedy series The Addams Family has been preparing for Halloween in their own inimitable way. Another Son of Sam. A psychotic killer escapes from an insane asylum and goes on a killing spree, and the SWAT team is sent out to track him down. Kind of. Sort of. Audrey Rose. A stranger attempts to convince a happily married couple that their daughter is actually his daughter reincarnated. Audrey Rose. Kathy's Curse. A young girl is possessed by the spirit of her aunt, who died as a child in a car accident. Soon, people around her begin to mysteriously die off. Kathy's Curse. Claws. Hunters wound a grizzly bear in a national forest in Alaska. Soon after, the wounded bear goes off and kills several other hunters. Claws. Remember Jaws? This is called Claws. Count Dracula. The vampire count leaves his Transylvanian home to wreak havoc across the world. Count Dracula. Next up we have is the spine-tingling checkered flag or crash. Race car driver walkway Madden signs up for the Big Manila 1000 off-road in the Philippines. Murder and mayhem ensues. Curse of the Black Widow. A private detective named Mark Higby is on the trail of a murderer whose mutilated and predominantly male victims are found encased in silken cocoons. Dead of Night. 3 horror stories about vintage car that transports its driver back to 1926. Dead of Night. Deathbed. The bed that eats. A bed possessed by a demon spirit consumes its users alive. So if you sleep in the bed, you're going to be eaten alive by the bed. Death Game. 2 crazy women seduce and then torment a businessman in his plush San Francisco home. Death Game. Next we have is the classic thriller, Demon Seed. A scientist creates Proteus, an organic supercomputer with artificial intelligence which becomes obsessed with human beings, and in particular, the creator's wife. Eraserhead. Henry Spencer tries to survive his industrial environment, his angry girlfriend, and the unbearable screams of his newly born mutant child. Eraserhead. The Exorcist 2. The Heretic. A teenage girl once possessed by a demon finds that it still lurks within her. Meanwhile, a priest investigates the death of the girl's exorcist. The Haunting of Julia. After her daughter's death, wealthy American homemaker Julia moves to London to restart her life. All seems well until she is haunted by the ghosts of other children. The Haunting of Julia. Godzilla. In 1977, the film was purchased and colorized by Luigi, in a terrible way of an old negative print. This is the movie that was reprinted. Godzilla. Good Against Evil. A writer, Andy Stewart, teams up with the Exorcist father to battle Satan and a group of devil worshippers led by Mr. Rimmon. Good Against Evil. It's Grinch Night. A strange wind blows into Whoville, making all the inhabitants stay indoors. They know the wind means the Grinch will be in a foul mood and out to do harm. Haunted. In Arizona during the Civil War, a woman is accused of witchcraft, tied to a horse, and left to die in the desert. Haunted. This movie is scary and has lots of kills. The Hills Have Eyes. On the way to California, a family has the misfortune to have their car break down in an area closed to the public and inhabited by violent savages ready to attack. The Hills Have Eyes. Hitchhike to Hell. Howard is a mild-mannered young man who drives a truck for commercial laundry. He's also a mother-obsessed psycho who picks up young female hitchhikers, rapes them, and then kills them. The Island of Dr. Moreau. A shipwreck survivor discovers a remote island owned by a crazed scientist who is carrying out sinister experiments on the island's inhabitants. The Funhouse. The Funhouse is an American exploitation horror film written and produced and directed by Roger Watkins. The plot follows a disgruntled ex-convict played by Watkins who takes revenge. Martin, a young man who believes himself to be a vampire, goes to live with his elderly and hostile cousin in a small Pennsylvania town where he tries to suppress his bloodlust. Rabid. A young woman develops a taste for human blood after experimental plastic surgery, and her victims turn into bloodthirsty zombies, leading into a citywide epidemic. Rabid. Ruby. 16 years after Ruby Claire's gangster boyfriend was shot and killed by 4 associates, a series of gruesome murders takes place. Ruby. Next up we have is Satan's Cheerleaders. The janitor at a local high school is actually the scout for a coven of Satanists on the lookout for a virgin to sacrifice. Satan's Cheerleaders. Shock. A couple is terrorized in their new house, haunted by the vengeful ghost of the women's former husband, who possesses their young son. Shock. Shock waves. Visitors to a remote island discover that a reclusive Nazi commander has been bringing a group of zombie soldiers. Shock waves. Snow Beast. A Colorado ski resort is besieged by a subhuman beast that commits brutal murders on the slopes. Snow Beast. Scepter. A criminologist and occult investigator recruits an old friend to assist in his current case. A sister of a prominent British businessman believes her brother dabbles in the black arts. The strange possession of Mrs. Oliver. A housewife is sick of her normal routine and makes all sorts of odd changes to her appearance. The strange possession of Mrs. Oliver. The Chosen. Robert's in charge of constructing a nuclear power plant in the Middle East. Will it be instrumental in prophecies of Antichrist's apocalypse? The Chosen. The day it came to Earth. A glowing meteor falls into a secluded pond in which mafia hitmen have dumped the body of one of their victims. Students from the local college use the pond for a swimming hole. Then the fun begins. The Demon Lover. A group of teenagers hanging around a cemetery get involved with a satanic priest who calls upon a demon from hell. Haunts. Mae Britt plays a seemingly innocent farm girl convinced that her slovenly uncle is the man responsible for the bloody scissor murders of several local girls. The Car. A small desert town is terrorized by a powerful, seemingly possessed car, and the local sheriff may be the only one who can stop it. Remember, Duel, The Car, Christine. The Spell. A teenage girl, taunted by her schoolmates because she's overweight, uses her supernatural powers to take revenge. I love revenge movies. I love it. The Uncanny. Wilbur Gray, a horror writer, has stumbled upon a terrible secret that cats are supernatural creatures who really call the shots. The Uncanny. This is about killer cats. The Incredible Melting Man. An astronaut is transformed into a murderous, gelatinous mass after returning from an ill-fated space voyage. So he's a melting man killing people for revenge. 3 Dangerous Ladies. 3 unrelated horror shorts from 1975 UK horror anthology series, edited together into one horror film anthology. Tinto Terrera, Killer Shark. 2 shark hunters flirt with an attractive British lady while hunting down a large tiger shark terrorizing the Mexican East Coast. Killer Shark. Whiskey Mountain. Bill, Dan, Diana, and Jamie, 4 motorcyclists who arrived at Whiskey Mountain for a treasure hunt, are terrorizing the woods by a gang of murderous hillbilly drug dealers. And lastly, we have Dracula's Dog. Communist soldiers accidentally unleashed Dracula's servant and dog, Zoltan, during Romanian excavations. They set off to find the last living descendant unaware of danger. Dracula's Dog. Those are the horror films that scared everybody in 1977. What movies do you remember of 1977 that you watched? Did any of these movies scare you or frighten you? Have you seen them today or have you seen them when they first came out? Let me know. I'm Tony. Thanks for watching. Leave your comments and questions below. Thank you, and I'll see you all in the next video.